The tray slipped from her trembling hands, crashing loudly against the polished restaurant floor. Glass shattered, plates spun in circles, and the sound echoed through the elegant dining hall like a gunshot. Conversation stopped, every head turned, but the pregnant waitress didn't notice the broken dishes. She was staring at the man sitting at table 17. Her face turned pale as if all the warmth had drained from her body in a single second. Her fingers slowly curled around the edge of the table beside her as if she needed it to stay standing. Because the man staring back at her was someone she had once promised to spend her entire life with. Ethan Caldwell, the millionaire, her ex-husband, and the father of the child growing inside her. For a moment, neither of them moved. The soft piano music playing in the background suddenly felt painfully loud in the silence that had fallen between them. The warm golden lights of the luxury restaurant reflected off the polished floor, illuminating the broken pieces of glass scattered near her feet. But Ethan's eyes weren't looking at the broken dishes. They were fixed on her stomach. Her pregnant stomach. The world around him seemed to collapse inward. 3 years. 3 long years had passed since the day she walked out of his life. 3 years since their divorce papers were signed in a cold lawyer's office filled with silence and resentment. And now she stood only a few feet away from him, wearing a simple waitress uniform, her hair tied back loosely, exhaustion written across her face. And she was pregnant. Ethan slowly pushed his chair back. The sound scraped across the floor, sharp and heavy. The entire restaurant seemed to feel the tension building between them. Have you ever seen someone from your past who once meant everything to you, and suddenly realized that life had completely changed them? That was the moment Ethan Caldwell was living. The woman standing before him barely resembled the confident, radiant woman he once loved. Back then, Olivia Bennett had been full of life. She laughed easily. She spoke with fire in her voice and dreams in her eyes. She used to paint late into the night while Ethan worked on building his business empire. She believed in him when no one else did. But now, her shoulders were slightly hunched from exhaustion. Dark circles rested beneath her eyes. Her hands shook slightly as she tried to gather the fallen plates from the floor. The restaurant manager rushed forward angrily. Olivia, what are you doing? Be careful. These plates are expensive. She quickly bent down, trying to collect the broken pieces before anyone else could step on them. I'm sorry, she whispered quickly. Her voice sounded tired, fragile. Ethan felt something twist painfully in his chest. He stood up. The movement made several nearby diners glance toward him. People recognized him. Ethan Caldwell was not just any customer. He was the owner of several major companies in the city. His face appeared in business magazines. People whispered his name when he entered rooms. But at this moment, none of that mattered. He slowly walked toward her. Olivia kept her eyes on the floor as she cleaned up the mess. Maybe she hoped he would simply leave. Maybe she prayed he wouldn't speak. But fate had other plans. Ethan stopped beside her. Olivia. Her name sounded different in his voice now. Lower. Heavier. She froze. For a few seconds she didn't look up. Have you ever avoided someone's gaze because you were afraid of what you might see there? Finally she lifted her eyes. Their gazes met. Memories flooded between them like a storm. Late-night conversations in their tiny first apartment. The day Ethan proposed on the rooftop of their favorite cafe. The nights they planned their future. Together. And the terrible argument that destroyed everything. Olivia straightened slowly, holding the broken tray against her chest. Hello, Ethan. Her voice was calm, but her fingers tightened around the metal tray. He looked at her again, then at her stomach. How far along are you? The question came out sharper than he intended. Olivia's expression hardened slightly. That's none of your business. The restaurant manager stepped in awkwardly. Mr. Caldwell, I apologize for the disturbance. She's new here. I'll make sure this doesn't happen again. Ethan barely glanced at him. How long has she been working here? Olivia answered before the manager could. 2 months. Ethan frowned. 2 months. The thought seemed to disturb him more than he expected. You're pregnant, and working double shifts as a waitress. She crossed her arms defensively. I'm doing what I need to do. Something in her voice made the room feel colder. Ethan leaned slightly closer. Where's the father? The question slipped out before he could stop himself. Olivia's eyes flashed with anger. That's also none of your business. The tension between them thickened like fog. Around them, diners pretended to continue eating, but many were secretly watching. Because everyone loves drama, especially when it unfolds in public. Have you ever stood between pride and pain, unsure which one is stronger? Olivia felt both fighting inside her. She turned to leave, I have work to do. But Ethan's voice stopped her. Olivia. She paused. He stepped closer. His voice lowered slightly. Why didn't you tell me? Her back stiffened. Tell you what? He gestured toward her stomach. That. A long silence stretched between them. Then she turned slowly. Her eyes were filled with something deeper than anger. Hurt. You lost the right to ask questions about my life 3 years ago. The words hit him harder than she realized. 3 years ago. The night everything fell apart. The night Ethan believed she had betrayed him. A misunderstanding that turned into accusations, accusations that turned into a divorce. And neither of them ever looked back. Until now. Ethan studied her face carefully. Does he take care of you? Olivia laughed bitterly. You think life is that simple? What does that mean? It means I don't need anyone to take care of me. Her voice was strong now, but her exhaustion was impossible to hide. Ethan noticed the slight swelling in her ankles. The way she shifted her weight to ease the pressure on her back. The faint tremble in her fingers. Olivia, you shouldn't be working like this. Then who should pay my rent? The question cut straight through him. Ethan opened his mouth, then closed it again. For the first time in years, the powerful businessman seemed unsure of what to say. Olivia picked up the tray again. I need to get back to work. But as she turned, her foot slipped on a small piece of glass still on the floor. Everything happened in a second. Her body tilted forward. A gasp escaped several diners. But before she could fall, strong arms caught her. Ethan's arms. He held her firmly, steadying her. For a moment their faces were inches apart. She could feel his breath. He could feel her heart racing. His eyes moved to her stomach again. Something inside him suddenly felt very wrong. A strange realization was forming in his mind. Slow, uncomfortable. He spoke carefully. How many months? Olivia hesitated. Then she answered quietly. 7. 7 months. Ethan's mind quickly calculated something. 7 months. 3 years since the divorce, but only 8 months since the last time they saw each other. The charity gala. The night they had spoken privately after years of silence. The night old emotions resurfaced. The night they both made a mistake. Neither of them ever discussed afterward. Ethan felt the ground shift beneath him. His voice dropped to a whisper. Olivia. She looked up at him. Yes. His eyes were filled with disbelief. As the baby, he couldn't finish the sentence. The restaurant seemed to disappear around them. Olivia stared at him silently. Tears slowly formed in her eyes. And then she said something that made Ethan Caldwell's entire world collapse. Yes. The word was barely louder than a breath. But it carried the weight of everything they had lost. And everything that might still be waiting for them. For a moment, Ethan Caldwell could not breathe. The word echoed in his mind like thunder. Yes. The baby was his. The elegant restaurant around them faded into a blur of soft lights and distant voices. The only thing that existed in that moment was the woman standing in his arms, and the child growing inside her. 7 months. 7 months his child had existed in the world, and he hadn't even known. His hands were still holding her steady from the moment she almost fell. He slowly loosened his grip, but neither of them stepped away. Olivia looked down, clearly uncomfortable with the attention that had gathered around them. You should sit down, Ethan said quietly. I'm fine. You almost fell. I said I'm fine, but her voice lacked the strength it once had. Have you ever insisted you were okay, even when every part of you was exhausted? Ethan noticed the faint tremor in her legs. Without asking again, he gently guided her toward the chair at his table. I can't sit, she protested softly. I'm working. You're done working tonight, she frowned. You don't get to decide that. The restaurant manager hurried over again, nervous now that one of his employees was clearly connected to a man as powerful as Ethan Caldwell. Mr. Caldwell, if there's a problem. There isn't, Ethan said calmly. He pulled out his wallet and placed several large bills on the table. This should cover whatever she would have earned tonight. The manager's eyes